Ah yes, Ubuntu with Unity. My first Linux crush was on Unity, and in fact, I used it in many of the early videos on this channel. And you're looking at Ubuntu 20.4 with Unity. Well, the installer anyway. And I say more or less because it feels a little more like Unity 8 sometimes, but other times it feels like a knockoff of GNOME. Ubuntu Unity uses the Ubiquity installer, which isn't surprising because that installer is about as old as Unity itself. It's been the default installer since back when Unity was the default desktop. Now the login in desktop is surprisingly fresh. It uses its own spin on the focal fossa background, which is pretty cool, and it uses the Ubuntu Welcome app, which didn't load the software section for me at the end, so that's fun. A fresh install of Ubuntu Unity comes in at a whopping 9.4 gigabytes. Wow. And Unity here is using just under 900 megabytes of memory. In NeoFetch, we see the standard Ubuntu logo, and the desktop environment is showing up as just Unity. The window manager is the venerable Compiz, and the theme is Ubuntu's Yaru with papyrus icons. And while I was recording this part, it popped up an update dialog, which looks a little bit strange to me. Anyway, it opens up the Ubuntu Snap Store, and funnily enough, there's an update for the Snap Store itself. While this is updating, we can take a look at the top bar and see the regular suspects. We've got a clock, we've got a calendar, a sound widget, a notifications widget, a locale switcher, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth controls. Now unfortunately I couldn't get Bluetooth to work at all. I verified it on my smartphone. I could find my Blaze watch, I could find that Rogue Echo somewhere in my studio, but Ubuntu Unity just couldn't seem to find anything. Now the Unity dash looks great. You can resize it just like normal, you can search categories and apps and use plugins for things. The icons were a little bit inconsistent in design though. For example, the file manager icons are blue, which clashes pretty bad with the default Yaru theming. The Unity Tweaks is shipped by default, but unfortunately there's something off about the tweak tool or about maybe Unity itself because certain things just didn't work. Like panel auto hide and positioning. You can see in the footage that it's just not right. And I started playing with the transparency and custom colors and it hosed up completely. And when I did this, I couldn't recover it. Like I couldn't get the transparency back, I couldn't get it to use the original color. It was just completely messed up. Now in the way of networking stuff, I was able to find my Linux Samba share on the network, but not my Windows share. And the Windows networking section didn't seem to work at all. Now my printer was detected automatically, which is always great, but the printer applet, we can see that weird styling again, like it's just off. I launched the settings app to see if I could change something in there, but I realized that this is the vanilla Ubuntu settings app, not the Unity settings app. Some things worked in here, like changing the default GTK theme, and other things didn't, or they caused like weird side effects. The Unity settings panel is included, though you can't run both settings panels at the same time for some reason. Now Ubuntu Unity does ship with some cool backgrounds, but the theme is a little strange. It's custom and like cobbled together, and if you change the option and the drop down, that theme is just gone. Like it doesn't have a name and I don't really even know where it's coming from. Luckily, I'm pretty good at theming just old style Unity 7 with the vanilla theme, so I put some elbow grease on it and I think I made it look pretty good. This is kind of what my old desktop from 2016 looked like, so it's actually kind of nostalgic. Now pretty much everything in the media department worked great. All of the common archive formats are supported, you've got exFAT support out of the box, and all my media files played back just fine. Ubuntu Unity ships only with Snap support, so you'll need to enable your Flatpak support yourself, and app images seem to work good right out of the box. And while I was playing the media stuff, I popped open a system monitor just to see how Unity was handling it all, and honestly I'm pretty impressed, just over 2 gigabytes of memory with all this stuff going on. I went ahead and opened up a bunch of the default apps, which includes all of the standards. You've got LibreOffice, media players, photo viewers and browsers, even a couple games. That's probably why the footprint is so large. Ubuntu Unity ships with a lot of stuff, apparently including the GNOME settings panel. Even while I was installing and setting up Steam, Ubuntu Unity didn't break much of a sweat running all of this. Now I'm going to play Cluster Truck over the outro because it's a good fun game, and I actually remember playing this when I was running Ubuntu with Unity back in the day. So keep in mind that this is like the first stable release of Ubuntu with Unity, and it's a remix, it's not an official thing. Is it stable enough to be a daily driver? Nah, I don't think so. I managed to break the desktop styling pretty easily, and there's no maps that snuck their way that actually override the default Unity settings app. That's just bizarre to me. And certain things like Bluetooth just don't seem to work at all. So what about Ubuntu Unity 20.10? Is that any better? Well, I actually tried that one first, and I felt that Ubuntu Unity 20.4 was actually better looking and definitely more stable, so that's why you're watching this one. But at this point, Ubuntu 20.10 hasn't even hit RC yet, so there's a lot of issues that still need to be ironed out, so we'll probably revisit that later on. I'm really happy to see how far the Unity desktop has come along and that it's still alive and kicking in the first place. It's really an outstanding desktop, and it's a tragedy that Canonical just abruptly dropped it like they did. Even though they look similar, Unity feels very different from GNOME, and as we saw, Unity is surprisingly light on the system resources, especially when there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I really hope that Ubuntu Unity can attract more contributors, because I could totally see myself using this in the future. Who knows, maybe 2021 will be the year that the Unity desktop makes a comeback in a big way.